Hello, Rory. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for starting this competition back in 2017. What was the original idea behind starting the Champions League?
Yeah, well, we just we thought between us, me and Quentin and a few of my international friends at the time, that it was something the sport needed to have this kind of competition with clubs, not just countries, against each other in a big tournament. And we thought, how can we do that to make it something special? And we talked together, and we had the idea of prize money and bringing club teams from lots of different countries in Europe all together and trying to make it the biggest club competition there is.
I really enjoyed when we started in 2017. Our team was involved, and I really liked the identity that the show had from the get-go, and I think it's very special. Also, in Champions League, you have one session, then you have 30 minutes break, which is very unusual because usually you have to rush through the sessions, obviously because you pay for an arena and you want all the time you have to actually spend on the arena, so you have more entries. But this is very special because you have time to watch the people and to tack up, and it's really about the performance, and it's something we really appreciate. So when you look at the original idea that you had and what it turned into, how much of that is aligning?
It's better than I ever thought it would be, which is great because I was always ambitious. I've always had dreams of in the sport of making amazing things, but this has become even better than I could have imagined it. And the quality of the A final every year it's just insane. It's absolutely incredible. And we describe it to people in England like the B final is like a normal A final, and the A final is like something out of this world.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for us in Germany, it's very often the first show of the year, so it's really in your face competing style. I think what I really like about Champions League is that it's competitive to get into the finals. So the first session, the first race is really competitive.
Yeah, I remember it's quite tense in that first session until you get some points on the board because sometimes you don't know the teams as well because we're only starting to learn more about Italy and these other countries that are really growing, and suddenly they come in with a team we don't know, and suddenly they're an amazing team, and you think you have an easier session, but actually all these teams are so good. So yeah, you really have to ride like you're in the final from the start here, whereas in our country in England you can maybe ease into it a little bit in the sessions before you get to the final, and then you get going. But here you have to get going from the start.
So for this year, you're riding in your usual team, Royal Berkshire. What's your plan, or what's your idea? How has the season been so far?
Yeah, we've had a really good start to the season. We had a little difficult season last year, but now it's really got together, and we've won 3 trophies already with the team. We recently won the English Championships and the League Starter, which is the start of our league in England. So yeah, everyone's going really well. And the got young girls in our team who are now very much growing up, and they're doing really, really well. So very pleased with the team this year.
So we've always seen that you're very ambitious about winning this show, and this year you have the feeling that it's maybe you're coming closer. Your chance is big.
I think so. I always have the belief every year, even if we're coming with a team that's weaker or not as strong. So I always have that belief. But yeah, this year. I'm quite confident we'll be up there for the challenge. It's very hard to beat Team Pad d'Avignon with Colin and Lucas. They're always going to be the favourites, but I think we can challenge and put up a fight, hopefully.
And next to the Pad d'Avignon, who else do you think will be close to the podium or to the top?
Yeah, well, it's quite regularly that us and you, Lindor Getoff and Royal Berkshire, Sussex and Pony Materials are usually the teams up there in the top 3 or 4. So I think those will be the ones. But for the challenge. But Picker Games from Belgium always get into the A final, and they're one of those teams you sometimes don't notice too much, and they just cruise through and get lots of points. And I think Lindor Getoff from Germany, Sussex and Royal Berkshire from England, and Pad d'Avignon and Pony Materials for France. For me, I think will be the 5 competing for it.
Without having the names of the teams in front of me, that would be the ones I would be looking at. And Pony Material last year to me was a bit surprising how strong they finished. And when I'm looking of what people are talking about, who's on the team, because they have 2 good Pony Material teams in France, but it looks to me like they have mixed them together so to get the best out of the 2. So I think they will be not surprising this year, but they will be very strong, I think.
Yeah, I think last year we finished 3rd last year and they were 2nd, and I think we were quite happy with how we went and quite happy with the performance. But we were surprised that we were not 2nd, and they were actually, I think, maybe 8 or 9 points ahead of us. So they were obviously very good because we thought our performance was quite good last year. So they're ones to catch up with as well.
Yeah, I think with them is that they are technical, very sound, and you don't notice them too much because they don't have too much power in the horses, but it's technical really well, and I feel like they know what positions who is doing, and they always have some inside turns and good stuff going on. So I'm really excited to see them in the session.
Yeah, for sure. You think you're winning a race easily, and then Paul Barreau comes and does a left-handed inside turn, and you're like, what? How did that happen?
That's the Paul Barreau problem. Yeah. Whenever you face him, you're surprised, like, how did this happen? It's just interesting with Paul because when Paul was a junior in individuals, he would never like really come through. And then suddenly, 2nd or 3rd year in the Open, you see, okay, this guy is special. And then he won the trophy for best rider in world teams in 22, I think, which was well deserved. Last year individuals, you caught him to get the last spot on the podium, which was special for you.
For sure.
But I think he showed his skill in that competition too. So that's a rider to watch out for. Yeah,
100%. I remember the first time I really noticed him, he won the European pairs in 2021, I think. And he did an inside turn, picking the mug up with his left hand, moved it into his right hand, and in the space of the 9 meters, put it on the pole at full speed. And I was like, what? That was like, I've never seen anyone do that ever. And I still haven't seen anyone else manage to do that, which is just crazy.
Yeah, it's that's a lot of trust in the horse. It must be. Yeah, it's a very efficient horse because it doesn't look as fast, but you can tell when he comes over the line, he's in front. So he must be fast.
For sure.
So when you express your happy feelings about the Champions League, what do you think you or the competition can improve? What do you envision the competition to be like in maybe 4 or 5 years?
I think one of the best things about it, like you say, is how it's it's just opens and we just have 3 heats and the time between. But what that also means is that we don't have the huge amounts of people. So it would be great, to really encourage people to come and watch it here at Le Bond, and because this is the best competition of standard of competition. So I would love to find a way to encourage people to come here and watch and experience the A final of the Champions League. And I always say to riders in England that you should fly over just for the social experience, because it's an amazing social event here as well as being such a great competition. So I think that would be something that would be brilliant down the line in a few years to encourage more people to come and watch and experience this special show.
Yeah, that's also what we are trying as the Mounted Games Studio. We started late because it's difficult to start something new, because everything that needs to be done within the project is new, so it takes more time. And we weren't going to be ready or prepared earlier, but we're happy that we started, and we will. The way we work is we want people to get behind the stories of the riders and the teams and the horses and get them interested, and thereby hopefully also getting them here to watch the final. And I believe it's because it's club teams that I think there's a chance of that happening, because people that are in those clubs are interested in coming. Now, the structure in GB, but also in France, is maybe not ideal because the people are not coming from one club. But when you look to Germany, or at least Lindau Gethoff, and also Italy, there are a lot of teams that are actually from their area, and it's one club. And obviously, when they go abroad, they have a big following that might come, and that's a beautiful thing if we can actually get those people to come, because then the feeling of a world championships is a little bit different because you have more people that are actually understand.
Yeah.
But if we can get that for Champions League, that would be really good.
That'd be brilliant. And in all the Scandinavian countries, I think they usually have riding clubs as well, like Scooterud, who have been here before, and they have a big club, and it'd be great to get everyone that's not in the team to come as well. Yeah. And it's very easy. It's you can fly here to Charles de Gaulle Airport, and it's a 1 hour journey away, so it's very easy to come and fly and watch your team, or you can travel down with them and enjoy the fun side of being tired and driving, but everyone's listening to music and having fun on the journey, kind of thing. So yeah.
And for this year, unfortunately, there's a unfortunate combination of competitions in some of the countries, and in France and especially Italy. So we don't have any teams coming from Italy, which I find very sad. What do you think in the future we can do to actually get all the best teams to Champions League?
It's tricky because this date has been a really good date for the Champions League, which is why even though it's very early in the season, we've always done it on this date because it's worked so well. But this year, I know the French Championships is next weekend, and I think Italy, it's a big pairs competition next weekend. So I think that's why it's not affected the French teams so much. But I know that some are changing their ponies for the French champs, and the same thing with Italy. A lot of them come together in one big load, and they struggled to come as just one team, so they couldn't get enough teams to come, which made it too difficult. So it was a shame. But and we'll miss them because they're always in the A final, La Fagna or La Scuderia, very good teams and very fun people. And we'll miss the pasta this year, but I've told them to come back next year, and I'm sure they will. But yeah, I mean, we can try to improve communications between the countries to fix the date, because I think the thing that has to come first in the sport is the riders, and I think the riders want to be here at this competition. So I think we need to make different federations and different countries' organisations aware that this date is this date, and if we can move it to a better date, we can. But I would rather we keep this date because it's always worked in the past. But yeah, I think whatever we can do to get everyone here we'll try.
Do you feel like maybe because it's not under the wing of IMGA, it's a little bit more like stubborn, sturdy to actually get that done?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit. Yeah, that's probably a little bit tricky. I like to think that more and more people are kind of calming down about the whole Struck and IMGA thing. It is a separate organisation, but I'm competing in both myself still, and I run Struck, and I'm still competing in IMGA. So obviously I don't care. So no one else should really care either. And it's if we can have two organisations that can provide top level competitions, I think that's great. And if maybe I'll have some ideas of theirs, and they can take some ideas from me, and together both organisations can be good and run good competitions.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think when you say, okay, we have to prioritize or we have to find dates, then in Germany we had the German pairs on that date for quite a while. So I think 2 or 3 years we didn't go to that because we went here. But we didn't have a conflict because it was Struck. It was just what it was.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that's not the case anymore, because to be fair, yes, it's about the riders and the supporters, and if they want to be here. And if you look at Part Avignon, the horses they are choosing for this competition, and then for the next competition, where their priority is.
They could have made our lives a bit easier, but they decided no. But I think it's good to see, though. I saw in the French, in some of the French Federation competitions, are doing the mug changes race, which is a Struck race. So it's good that there's some organisations are taking some parts of Struck to get their riders to practice, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think also. Well, I'm not going into the controversy of but I think it's important that we do, okay, not so much planning, not so much discussing, just doing, and it doesn't really matter as long as it's whatever we do is safe. I don't really care. I'm not a big fan of too many new races.
Yeah,
I always feel like if the majority of people are not able to play the races that we currently have, then it's not a good idea to bring in new ones. But I understand from the Struck perspective, and what you're doing is still more or less the same movements, so that's no problem. But I think if there is a good race And especially if you don't need extra equipment, why not use it?
Yeah. Yeah, because in England we do a lot more new different races, but here at the Champions League we've only brought in Spellstruck, which is very similar to like Founders that you have in IMGA. 5 mug, Hugger mug. It's the same race except it's 5 poles and the last rider with the first pole and mug changes. So only 3 different races here. So I think I've been quite careful to make sure we don't bring too many of the new ones here, because like you say, it's not really fair for the countries in Europe that are not regularly doing the races that we have in England, because then it would be too much of an advantage. But down the line, if it becomes races that you do in Europe, then it will make it come here. But for now, I think it's best to keep it quite similar.
Yeah, the ones that we are doing are good, look good to me.
Yeah,
I like the fact that you don't like Little Scoop.
No. No. And I have a very obedient pony, so I should like it, but I don't.
No, it's a terrible beast of a race.
Yeah.
So you're in a very, I would say, fortunate situation by running Struck and having one part of your family member being involved in the pony club as a chairman.
Yeah.
How do you think like mounted games or pony games in general can benefit from this?
Well, what I'm really trying to progress in England, particularly in Great Britain, is that link we have between the pony club. We're so lucky to have the pony club in England, because there are about 200 under 15 mounted games teams, pony club level under 15s. So we have this amazing pool of riders, and yet our numbers haven't been that big coming through. So what we're really trying to do now is actually, we have our Struck Open and under 18s in England, and we run them alongside the Pony Club under 15s at a lot of our shows. So these young riders are seeing what they can do afterwards and understand a bit more the level they can get to. And what I really like about the Pony Club and their kind of what they stand for, they're very pro horse welfare is very good, and teaching riders to ride in a really good way for the ponies, not balancing around and not being able to balance on the ponies. They're very much, if a rider comes through the Pony Club, they are a proper rider, and that's what I really want to encourage for all riders. It's like, even me now, my 77-year-old riding instructor, I will still once or twice a year have a riding lesson with her, and she'll say, you're sloppy here, you need to put this, and tell me different things. And that even me, and I'm quite a high level in the sport, I will still go and make sure I'm riding properly. And I think we should encourage more riders to do that as well, to really make sure they're riding their ponies properly and well. And I know I'm probably not the best rider for like schooling or anything, but I like to try and make sure I'm being kind the way I ride my horse.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's and I think it's important because especially so much on social media, and every now and then I see pictures of where the horses have their mouths open, and it's obviously it's just a small situation that is captured, but it looks really bad. But I think what people, like the critics of equestrian sports overall, I think what they have to realize, okay, this is difficult. And it's not the way we want it to look, but in order to get better, you have to start at some point. And it's about, okay, we want to ride as smooth as we can with less pressure on the reins as we can get and no kicking. But it's not like it just works because we want it, but that's where we're working towards. Because I think if you want to be efficient with your horse, and if you want to get the best out of it, you need the horse to enjoy it. And the more pressure you have on the reins, the more kicking you do, the more energy you lose you pull out of yourself, but you also pull out of the horse. So if you have a lot of fighting going on with your horse and the horse is not listening to the rein, the power that the pony puts into the rein is power that it could use to turn faster or to run faster. So it's people have to realize, okay, if I have to pull, then I'm not efficient, and if I'm not efficient, I won't be at the top. So I have to not only be good at games, but I have to understand, okay, I have to ride my horse in an efficient way, in a clean way, in order to be able to get the best out of it. But and that's, I think that's a difficult part, because when you want to motivate somebody to start the mounted games or the pony games, it's because they want to race, because they want to compete. And I think what the Italians are doing is, okay, they are showing the kids, the very small kids, how to start riding in a playful way with mounted games and pony games. And then when they get older and they understand, then they bring in the dressage and they prioritize the dressage, but not too early. Because if you tell a kid you have to do this and this, it's not so much fun for the kid, and then it loses interest. So I think what the Italians doing on this side is really good, but I think it's important for everybody to realize, okay, the better you ride, the better you'll be in games. And for the critics, it's also important to communicate with them. This is not what we want to look like, but sometimes that's what it looks like because somebody's not perfect yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for whenever you come across the kind of people that might criticize, how the horses, look in pictures and things, I think the best thing to ever say to them is look how they look on the start line, because every horse on the start line is looking so excited and ready to go, and that shows you, they want to be there and they want to race and they want to compete. And I think particularly it reminded me last year the European Pairs Indy, who is a very old pony now, was on the start line, ears forward, looking at the starter, and for an older pony to be that excited to go, it's amazing, and I think it's really nice to see. And for a lot of these ponies, a lot of the ponies can go on for a longer age in mounted games, and if they didn't have mounted games, they wouldn't live that long. It keeps them going, it keeps their brains, involved, and it keeps their fitness up, and it kind of saves them in a way to keep going.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because very often we discuss, okay, what's the best horse in mounted games, or what's the best breed? What do you want to have? But I think in the end of the day, is if you find a horse that understands the game and that enjoys the competing in mounted games, those horses you cannot beat with the best breed, whatever that may be. And it's a beautiful thing when you find it. And usually those are the ones that then come through to win a title after another.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And
so I was fortunate to have one like that, or even two, that they loved it. They understood everything about it. There was no motivation needed. But then so the first one was a small one, but my sister and my brother went on to ride, and a lot more kids learned to do games on that pony, and then he's still alive. And the second one was my grey Vilja. But since then, 2015 was my last individuals, and 2018 the last show. So since 2015, I've been looking for another one like this. And there's been loads of good ones that can run fast and turn, but it's so hard to find one that has it all and wants to compete. And it's interesting.
It is. And the ponies that we have here, that me and my brother have been riding for a long time, Pluto and Alan. And Alan was a racing pony that was, too scary for the rider, and the rider kept falling off, and they sold, and that's why he was for sale for a very low price. And then Pluto was herding cows in a field in Cornwall. So these two had never done it before, but we just went and tried them, and they instantly felt like they could do it. And then together now we've been British Pairs champions and European teams champions 2 years ago with them in the same team together. So I think you can find a perfect pony in a very strange place sometimes. But like you say, it doesn't matter the breed, doesn't matter where they've come from. They can, if you can connect with the horse and the horse can connect with the games, perfect.
Would you if you erase all the horses that we talked about? Do you have an underrated horse in mind that people might not know, that you say, okay, you have to watch out for this one?
I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm trying to think. There was one that we bought years ago called Beauty, who we had in our team, she had hair over her eyes, and she looked like she was so slow. And then we watched her do 3 mug, and she beat, this is many years ago, and Josh Ryder, who was a very good rider, and she overtook Josh Ryder in 3 mug, but no one looked at her because she looked so ugly and horrible and had all this, she was quite slim and had long hair. But we saw her, and she was for sale and very cheap price, and no one wanted her because she looked so ugly, which is so funny because she's called Beauty. So we bought her, and then She won 3 inter-counties with our Royal Berkshire team. She was British individuals finals, British pairs finals, Europeans with Jack when he was in the Scotland team. Like this pony that just looked like a mess and came to us and won Gothenburg Horse Show as well. Like, and that was a really satisfying feeling to find a horse that not everyone else said no, that's not good, and we just were the only ones that wanted to buy it. And she was one of those ponies that never looked like she was going that fast, but she was always just so amazingly efficient.
Yeah, it's not difficult to buy the champion and be good.
Yeah.
It's difficult to find one that nobody else finds.
Yeah. So that was very satisfying when you find a pony like that and it comes good. So but right now I'm trying to think, there probably is one out there that I can think of.
Like one like Poco. I was talking to Lucas earlier, and Poco in 2017 when he had him the first show I saw him, I was like, oh. Like, those horses don't come across too many times, but it'll be interesting to see if we can see one this week.
I'm sure there will be. There will be someone, or some pony somewhere. But that's a good one, Perko. Yeah, with I remember I remember never really noticing him too much, and then in the World Individual Final, he's won Carton by 2 poles in the World Individual Final, and I was like, but when did that horse get that fast? But I think it always had it in it, and we just never noticed, which was really cool.
Yeah. Rory, thank you very much.
No problem. It's great to be here.
It'll be interesting to see how it all turns out, and I'm sure we're going to provide the Mounted Game Studio with an interview if you're going to win.
Fingers crossed. We'll try. I'm not going to say we will because we never have, but we will try our best.
That's why we're here. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.